Hello, everybody. Welcome to another exciting episode of PFP. This is episode 2, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, about N4. I am your host, Randy Glenn, and with me, as always, is Rob Baker.
Hello, everybody. It's that Baker Kid coming to you.
And Ryan Moore.
Sup?
Nice. And nice. And I am super pleased to announce the new sponsor for this episode is, in fact, Tabletop Game and Hobby in Overland Park, Kansas. Tabletops was established in 1994. It is a brick and mortar gaming and hobby store with a really great play space. It's been around since 1994. They do specialize in non-electronic games, and they carry a vast variety of board games, miniature games, role-playing games, classic games, gaming accessories, and more. Definitely check out their online store where you get free shipping anywhere within the continental United States of any purchase of $100 or more. Join us at the table. We can't wait to game with you. Guys, we are back.
Randy. Yeah.
We are in episode 2, and this is 2 weeks in a row. I don't know if should we write this on the calendars of things that I never thought that would ever happen in podcasting.
We should say it's season 4, episode 2, so people don't come in and go, "What? This is episode 2?" They've been recording for a long time.
Long time.
It is. This is season 4, episode 2, and this is N4, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. And if you were wondering what this episode is going to be about, it's going to be about some N4, some rumors, some wish listing, all the good stuff that happens at an edition change. And I guess we should get this started on a positive note. And first, let's talk about what we want out of this edition. What are we wishing for the most? Ryan, what do you want out of it? Like if today was Christmas and you opened up your stocking and it was Infinity and it said anything you want, what is it?
Oh man,
I'm glad you're going first because it's good time to actually think.
Well, this is Ryan's being penalized because Ryan sold me a bunch of models and he didn't give me basis to some of them, and so I am going. No, they don't. And I was waiting for us to be on air so I could call you out.
Normally I put those in the bag. I have them. I have them.
Yeah, it's fine. I'm just kidding.
Oh, and I found 2 boxes of other Nomad models, by the way.
Perfect. So Ryan gets the first question of the night.
That I can just play. I just want to play. Can we just that count? Can I just play?
Okay, that's just the general rule of 2020.
Yeah. I would like. I still already know. We know that they are getting rid of the nested rules, which I think is great for simplicity. And cleaning up hacking. I think those are the 2 things that I would probably have focused on the most. It's a little bittersweet because I felt like I was really getting the hang of my Akari there at the end of N4. Well, not really the end of N4 because it was winter.
And N4 hasn't happened yet.
Yeah, but the end of N, really. So, and then switching to the 15 model limit is an interesting thing that I thought was kind of cool, but I was, I'm just really anxious to start theory crafting again. So really I just want the army update. So just give me the army update. That's my Christmas wish. Just give me that so I can start playing with stuff.
Okay, so I am just getting back into this hobby after quite some time, and I am completely. What is nesting? Explain nesting to me in the easiest game terms that you can.
All right. So, for example, nesting would be embedding skills within skills. So, if a model has martial arts, the model also has stealth, right? So, stealth is a nested rule within martial arts. If a model has camo, he also has stealth. So, that's a nested rule within the camo, right? If a model has infiltration and TO camo, then he also has hidden deployment. So there's basically just there's a Morat special rule that gives them veteran and a couple of things. And so that's what's nested rules. So it requires you to remember that martial arts has stealth, right? Camo has stealth. Well, now it'll have camo, it'll have stealth. I'll have them listed out there so you don't have to remember that those levels of rules.
Okay, that makes a lot more sense to me, because I was seeing people post it, and when you don't want to be the dumb guy on the internet because you don't want to get just ridiculed for being stupid, I'm going to take one for the team and ask this question on air. So I did, but I really was going to ask you guys, and I was saving it in case one of you said that you are looking forward to nesting going away, because we were talking about nesting in the RPG world, and we'll get into that. You'll hear that episode later, but I am with you, Ryan. I'm glad that things are going to be more spelled out, but the thing I'm looking forward to, like the thing that I am wish listing, would be that the names of all the units were easy for me to pronounce, or that my English and pronunciation was better. Like if all units could be called like Rob, or like, are you going to take that knight? See, like I can say knight, but you guys were making fun of me before this over, what is it? Hold on a second.
Oh, you're on the wire now.
Oh my God. You know what? The thing is I even like kind of started breaking up the word so I would say it right. So the Nomad Corregidor. Son of a gun. This is horrible.
So for you listeners, we literally went over this 10 minutes ago on how to pronounce Corregidor.
Yeah. Corregidor. That's right, Corregidor. So I'm going to say this later on in the show too, and I'm going to botch it again. But if the word, like, why can't it just be like Gigador? Like if it was that, I would be all over this. So if and nobody cares what I think, but if somebody's out there that makes decisions at Corvus Belly, if you could just make the words easier for Randy to pronounce, that would be, God love you. Okay. But what about you, Rob? What are you hoping for, bud?
So for me, I'm also super jazzed about the nested aspect going away, but I'm looking at it from a different point of view. So Ryan hit on the infiltrating camo, or the dude, let's say inferior infiltrating grunt, but giving them camo, breaking out camo from its nested, breaking out infiltrating from its nested rules. What I see that from a game design point of view, or theory craft point of view, I see that giving more options for the game designers to add different story elements into the game. Does that make sense?
No, it does. It makes a lot of sense, and I'm super glad you guys talk about these things, because we're going to talk about a ton of this in the RPG version, about this nesting and going away and staying, and how it does translate from tabletop to story, and how cool that is, but how getting rid of nesting actually makes the game easier on the tabletop to play. If that makes sense to everybody, because I feel like when you're a new player, the gotcha moments happen in the nested rules. I feel like that's where people get got.
Yes. And I think that along with that, breaking things down from camouflage, right? So
right.
TO camo, -6. ODD, -6. Why not call them the same thing? And that's one of the things that I'm really super excited about, because now that's mimetism -6. And I see that the streamline aspect really helping gameplay on the table, because when you're in the thick of the game, the time is clicking, the sands are running through the hourglass, and you're looking at the clock, you're looking at your opponent, you're looking at your objective, and then you're looking at your army sheet, and it's got a whole myriad of things, ODD, TO camo, blah, 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 blah. It makes it harder for a player that is not as skilled or doesn't have the chance to play as many games as other people. And while I'm a huge fan of playing more games reaps you a benefit of some sort, I don't think that it's the same across the board for everybody. And so I think if it's streamlined and you're playing against your opponent, playing with your opponent, and your opponent sees that you've got a Myrmidon and knows, oh, that dude's got, mimetism -6, it will actually help speed along the game process. And that's, I think, a win-win for everybody, that's involved.
I do too, and I think that the most important thing about Infinity and the best part about Infinity, the game, is that we're playing the game together, and I'm not playing against you. I am, but we're supposed to be playing together, so you're almost always engaged in the game itself. But it can be daunting to have to know, as you know, what Ryan said earlier, all the hacking programs, and then I have to know all of the rules within inside. Like sometimes you want a little transparency, and for the people out there, and I'm one of them, that you don't get to play games every weekend or every other night. It's hard to stay up with all the rules for every faction, and you want to have a good time, and losing to gotcha is just it's just not fun. It really isn't fun. I mean, like you don't feel like you lost. You know what I mean? Like that's just one of those things.
And Randy, I wholeheartedly agree. And I think another one of the things that we haven't really talked about is the getting rid of the auto crit, right? Yeah. And changing the auto crit into a double arm roll or a double armor save. I think that that's also something that the dice are fickle bitches. It's my sign off, log off thing. But at the same time, when your LT gets popped by that, sniper that is, MSV2 and N3, MSV2 sniper rifle that is trying to sneak across a gap that is, just a hair outside of their normal first short skill move, and they get the crit and they go down, and that the next turn you're going to be in loss of lieutenant. That is a deflating moment. And I get the cinematic aspect of getting shot through the eye slit of your armor or getting shot through the neck. I get it and I understand it, but from a game point of view, it takes a lot of people out of the fun aspect of playing. I honestly think that getting rid of that, time will tell. I could be wrong. I've been wrong before. Trust me, my wife points it out to me a lot. And I will be wrong again. But I think the intent behind that is very beneficial for the overall community.
Hold on, I want to counterpoint that a little bit.
Yeah.
Because yes, when you get crit, it kind of sucks. I had a tournament game, and Wolver Mike actually crit me pretty much every other roll that he had. It was like, you're right, there's nothing you can do about it, right? So he just kept knocking dudes down. Now, the thing that I do like about the crit mechanic auto wounding is it meant like the lowliest Fusilier with a combi rifle could take out a tag. He could do a wound on a tag and cause a tag to rethink its process, right? I actually had a game where I had 2 Fusiliers, and there's a big Morat dude coming at him, and I needed like 9s to hit him, and he was just rolling through me, and I crit him like twice. So it dropped him. It's not going to happen any other way. They really were they should have died. They were supposed to die, and they didn't. So that was really cinematic. It was really kind of cool. The way it is now, if the same Fusilier gets a crit against, say, the tag is going to roll 2 armor saves, right? So he could take 2 wounds, but also tags are typically, 5, 6 points of armor if he's in cover. So he's looking at 9. So literally the guy needs to roll 5s or better, right? So the chances of that actually doing anything is much less, right? So now there is also the chance if you have a heavy infantry dude running across the gap, you may want to rethink that run because you could take 2 wounds and die. But I don't know. We need to play it, obviously, to see if it really even matters. But there was that one final wound on the dude that was always kind of exciting. And I think in some cases, some heavily armored dudes are going to be able to just kind of roll a lot more than they would have previously.
Well, I would like to counterpoint you. I like this counterpoint. I think that this new rule, if I'm looking at it right and if I'm playing it right in my head, which I'm probably not. So everything I'm saying, ignore me. I'm probably wrong. I think this gives it more thematic. I think it makes it more in line with a story in your head. Before, gaming wise, I think the crit made it more kind of like, oh, boom, dead. Haha, take it, suck it. But I think now, like, if you had a super heavy armed dude and he's going against like little peon soldier. Oh, he got lucky and he hit, but big guy shrugs it off twice, and it's more on you, the defending player now. And I think that that's more in line with it. Not that, one, he got the lucky shot off, but did you actually get through? And I like that mechanic. I think, because I'm with you, Ryan, until we actually play it, it's really just discussing it. And it doesn't work. No matter how many times I look at Tabletop Simulator, and I know it's a great platform to practice and do things, until I have dice in my hand and I'm rolling, myself and having fun around a table, I don't know if it's good or not.
Yeah, I will say that, and I had a train of thought that I kind of lost a little bit. I will say what I wish they would have done is left it the same, except for not making it auto wound, make it you don't get an armor bonus, right? So it's just a straight up roll.
Yeah.
Right. That to me would have been more cinematic, because it was like you crit because you found the chink in the armor, right? So you've made it past that. That's what caused you to hit.
Okay.
And to me, now that probably would have made the rules more complex, right? And that's not what they were attempting to do. So to me, I think that would have.
Okay. I mean, I'm totally with you on that. So moving past, our wish listing, which we've basically knocked out, and I think I have an answer to this question, but maybe you guys are going to change your minds when I ask it. So whenever you go to an edition change, there's always a rule or a mechanic or something that changes from editions. What rule or what mechanic that is in fact coming out, and I'd like to lean towards more of the rules that you're super stoked to see, or something that maybe you're like, man, I wish they would just leave it alone, just don't touch it.
Rob, why don't you go?
Cool. So for me, the issue that I see of I wish they would have left that alone was, if the model's base size can fit through the doorway, it can fit through the doorway. Now, from what I've read in Code 1, maybe it was some of the leaks for N4, if the model can squeeze half of its base size through the gap, then it can go through that gap. In the Code 1 rulebook, there's actually a movement chart that shows a model, I think it may be a Fusilier, that is, going along its 4-inch movement for its first short skill, and there is like this perfectly set 26 millimeter square, right? So it's 26 millimeter by 26 millimeter by 26 millimeter, and it says it can sit there, where the gantry or the catwalk to get to that 26 millimeter square is 24 millimeter. And it just can't get through that with the base, but because of this new squeezing rule, it's allowed to get to this platform. And then the next picture below it shows, an almost 8-inch gantry that does not have that 26 millimeter square, and the Fusilier can't make it. I think that to me is adding a level of complexity that was not there in N3, and doesn't necessarily, take anything away. Or add anything.
Yeah, that's the rule that confuses me too, right? I think it's probably intended so that there's a little more flexibility on what you do with your terrain, maybe. But it's counterintuitive to what they're saying for the rest of the stuff, right? The rest of the Code 1, the rest of them, we're trying to simplify, we're trying to clean up. For example, cover used to be a third of your base had to be covered. Now it's just any part. Doesn't matter what it is. Right?
Yeah.
The joke going on is that you can get a tag, or a Maghreb guard can be behind
exactly.
a fire hydrant, and that's cover. So, and that, to me, that's the one that I don't like now, because I get it, because for simplicity's sake, now you'll see less scatter, I think, on tables. So maybe you'll have some cleaner alleyways. Maybe you'll have to have less terrain really to get the same effect. But the terrain rule, the cover rule, I don't like, but it does simplify it. But this movement one, like Rob said, now I need to have another widget that I can measure to see if I can get through there. So to me, that adds complexity that wasn't wasn't needed at all. Right. That was basically how you set up your table. And if somebody set up a table where there's a whole edge you couldn't walk through because you couldn't fit through, well, that's part of that puzzle you have to solve.
Okay, so you like the old way the rule was. So if you can fit through, you can fit through. Is there a rule that's coming out that you're really excited to see the way it interacts inside the game now?
I think that is a tougher question to actually answer because we don't know at the time of this recording, because this is, still early in September and N4 is not going to drop until later part of this month. Not knowing what the interactions of all of these different rules, right? Because Code 1 is still a stripped down diet version of N4. It's really hard to answer what specific rule we're excited for, which is right, wrong, or indifferent. That's the situation we find ourselves in. But for me, I think the cleaning up of the rules of climbing and what could possibly be for climbing plus, I see that as being a super interaction that is a lot cleaner.
I'm just looking forward to be perfectly honest with you, as a casual gamer, I am super looking forward to the hacking rules being simplified. I hope that they've listened to the gamers. I hope whoever play tested it did something with it. It's just something I hope there's hacking. I hope it just makes more sense with the interaction inside the game. That's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah, we have heard from Carlos he's been on a couple podcasts and interviewed, and we do know that hacking is still in the game. We do know that hacking devices are still there, but they've been cleaned up and simplified. So there's not 4 programs that do the same thing, but this one gives me a +3. This version gives you a plus or a -3. This one gives me burst 2. This one gives me burst 3. So it sounds like they've simplified what all the programs do, and there's not so many that do the same thing, and that each hacking device does something significantly different. So I think we've gotten a little bit of both of that, which I think is great.
Yeah, no, I think you're absolutely right. I really do think I've been watching some of the Carlos stuff as well, and trying to get tidbits here and there and stay up to date, obviously, for this. But that is really what I'm looking forward to. But that's just from the casual gamer side of things, where I like to show up and play, but I want to be able to do it easily. So I mean, I know Rob is. I assume you're good with some simplified hacking, or.
Oh yeah, I'm totally on board with the simplified hacking, because when I look at Aleph, right, and you've got Combined Army, you've got all these different super hackers in Nomad factions. This hacker, this general style hacker, has this ability. Cool. This name character has this upgrade, and this upgrade comes with this program, and this program does this. Oh, okay, I get that you want to emphasize your name characters. I get that you want these sorts of things. However, you're in essence bogging down the game, because now I've got to flip to this chart, understand what this does. Even with Captain Spud's hacking helper, it's okay. I am this type of hacker. I am hacking this type of enemy. I am hacking this, and that dichotomy tree of just, okay, this is who I am. This is what I'm doing. This is how I'm doing it, and here are my 5 choices. Oh my. That's complex, which, in defense of N3, that's why the hacking programs were in the advanced gamer. But like we talked about on last episode, I'm an advanced gamer. I've been gaming for 30 years. Oh shit, I didn't know that I needed a master's degree in gaming. I am super stoked to see the hacking become simplified.
Yeah,
good.
Yeah, I think just the reducing the number of programs, so there's not a program or 4 programs that do the same thing, will actually achieve all of that. I still think that you need to have, like, your special characters. He's a killer hacker, right? Also has this one other program for the one of the vets. I don't think that complicates it very much at all, right? It gives some flavor to that character. I play Onyx, and Onyx has Kurnow, and Kurnow has a killer hacking device, but he's also got white noise, right, which is a special
Yep.
program. So I think that's great. So I think hacking sounds like it'll be cleaned up a little bit, and simply cleaned up just because they're just going to reduce the number of things that do the same stuff, or virtually the same stuff.
Yeah, so this is going to tie on to my next question to you guys for this episode. And with all the leaks coming out in the community, and with things getting posted to Facebook and all over the place, what are you most disappointed with? What's the I don't even want to say it's bad, but this is kind of like the ugly thing of new additions. We've talked about this kind of, as three guys that have a podcast and, other things coming down the road. We want to be, first like everybody else and getting, cool leaks. But what are some of the things that you're seeing that you're like, man, I wish blank would happen?
And a hush falls over the crowd.
And a hush falls over.
I don't know. I don't know if any of the leaks have really caused me to be like, there are a few of the leaks that I've been excited about that I think, okay, that sounds really, not ones that I've been like super disappointed with. I mean, the cover one is not my favorite because I just don't like it. I can have my model who's got like his foot behind the corner and yet he's getting cover, but that's going to be an adjustment to visualization and playing, like how you play it, right? So that's just an adjustment there, and once it becomes, you're used to it, it becomes normal, then it's going to be whatever. And it's a simplicity. There's no arguments of this guy have cover, does this guy not have cover, although I don't think I've ever really had many of those arguments. I mean, a lot of times we look at it like, does it have cover? And most of the time people are like, yeah, sure, I'll give you cover on that. Or like, no, I mean, I can see all but that guy's foot, so I'm pretty sure I can see him all. But none of the leaks have really been like, dang, I wish they wouldn't have done that. I have some that are questionable why they're pulling some of the SKUs of models. That seems like it's some of the odd choices to me, but I don't have their database to tell me what's selling, so I don't really know if there's a reason behind that other than that.
Yeah, and to the pulling of SKUs, I think that's one of the things that is most discouraging, is because as someone who helps Tabletop, try to plot their ordering without knowing what SKUs are getting ready to be removed, it's a gamble, right? As a small business owner, to order a whole bunch of Aleph stuff, and then as soon as the send button is hit for that order, oh, and by the way, these SKUs are going to be discontinued. And I get that the Frenchies, the Merovingian Rapid Response Force, was in the same boat. However, there was already multiple factions on Dawn, for Ariadne. And so reducing that SKU made sense. However, you've only got one Aleph faction, or one vanilla Aleph faction. You've got two sub-factions. And I get the idea behind reducing those SKUs so that you can make those new models up to the current standard. That's great, but at the same time, couldn't you just re-release Achilles, in hoplite armor in a new blister pack and keep that same SKU? That's just the question that I'm asking myself, because I'm kind of disappointed in that aspect of things. With N4 being released and it's all hype, and then all of a sudden, womp womp, sad trombone.
Well, so onto your SKU number, no, you do not want to release a new model using the same SKU, because then if a retailer has two different models that have the same SKU number, that's going to make it confusing to them and for their consumers. The only thing that I don't like about the argument of like, oh, we're updating these models, is the Shock Army. Oh, now I'm going to mess up a word. Thanks, Randy. Accostamento. That starter set was new when they pulled it off. They've also dropped the Magister Knights for the military orders, right? That set of models is only a year, 2 years old.
Yeah.
Right. So that tells me that there's something else, right? Either those models aren't selling, yada, 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 right? For some reason. But So I don't like the idea of like, oh, we're pulling them to update the models because they aren't up to our current standard. Well, these models were released not that long ago. The Myrmidons I get because the really cool Myrmidon that is new, that has the updated sculpt that looks really sweet, is not even available to Aleph. It's
Perseus.
it's a nomad model. So
Yeah, it is Two Pistol Perseus.
Pistol Perseus.
It's such a cool model too.
It is a cool model.
I will tell you one thing that I am excited about. That I'm just gonna go away from the questions that Randy was asking, and that I'd overheard.
He's going rogue.
Yeah, that tags will probably get a reduction in cost, which means my dual Zeodron Onyx list becomes valid again, because when they updated last time, when they gave all tags the the order, I can't remember what it's called.
You're suffering from Randy.
Yeah.
Just so you know,
they went up 5 points each, but if they go back down, then I could run the 2 Zeodron list, and I love the 2 Zeodrons.
Just so you know, Ryan, every time that you go off of the script that I worked very hard to make and send, I'm going to go into movie guy voice guy. In a world where Ryan goes off script, Rob and Randy must reel him back in. That's what I'm going to do to you, okay?
All right, starting when? Starting now?
I mean, like, I think next
episode
is going to be the thing that I'm going to do it.
All right, next episode. So I'm going to go off script a bunch of times this episode.
It's like every time you do it, I'll be like, Ryan, why are you going off script when you know there's savings to be had? I'm just gonna not even make sense. It's gonna be like I have. It's gonna be like a podcast. Yeah, I'm gonna have podcaster Tourette's. I'm just gonna make something up. I'm literally gonna look at something in my office and just read it.
It sounds like
Code 1.
It sounds like you're doing a weird Batman.
Well, you know, that's the thing, is that I could have played Batman. I had the stamina, the body, the looks, but they said I was too good looking for Batman, and I was too muscular.
Because they just didn't want to put that behind a mask.
They were afraid. They needed to see this face. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was going to be the first Batman without a mask, but here we go. We're off on a tangent, and it's all Ryan's fault. It's all Ryan's fault. So I'm going to reel him back in.
In a world
where Ryan goes off topic and everyone follows him.
Right? Okay, so
follow me, minions. Follow me,
minions. So about your tags. So you're excited about tags then? Like, is this another one of your excitement? Like, you're excited about a lot of things, Ryan. A lot of things.
I am excitable. That's true. Yeah, I am excited about tags. If some of the smaller tags get a drop in points, I think we're going to see more tags anyways.
Agreed.
Since it's 15 models, you're not going to have the big points bloat where somebody's like, I'm going to have 20 dudes in there. Tags are one of the elements to me that Infinity is like, oh, that's cool. That's a cool ass model. You got this big giant stompy robot. Now, the flip side of that is they're going to be harder to kill. If I'm looking at in 3 rules, right? Tags are a little harder to kill without being prepared for them. And if we don't have the crit auto wound, that could also be a problem. But I don't know what hacking programs are going to be out there. I don't know what vulnerabilities tags are going to have as of yet. But I mean, I liked the 2 Zeodrons so much that I actually made a 4 Zeodron list. I actually have 4 Zeodrons. I have 2 of them painted, but I have 4 of them. So you may see that.
I saw an extra burst episode where we discuss Ryan's obsession with creating lists based on
multi-tag.
Yeah.
How to make it?
Ryan Moore multi-tag.
How to make Infinity an expensive game and multi-tag list with Ryan Moore.
I mean, number of models, it's low count though. I mean, you're typically only going to get 10 in there.
Right, but then you have that second list that you have to bring to like a little event thing, and so it's here we go.
Look, Randy, in a world where Randy takes us down. No, I have taken 2 lists to almost every tournament, and I would bet 90% of the times I play the same list all games.
And just Iron Man.
Just Iron Man. I do it all the time.
That does bring up an interesting point about tags, because
Wait. Is this on script or off script? Does Randy need to jump in here?
No. I'm reeling you both back in. Come
Okay.
to the light, children. Come to the light. But back on the script and on topic of what we're excited to see. Ryan is definitely excited to see more tags. We understand with Tactical Window having 15 units, in 2 different combat groups, however you want to split those 15 orders up or those 15 dudes up, you're going to have big, bulky, stompy robots. We're seeing from the leaks that, Hawk Islam is getting a new tag, not the Maghariba Guard, and the name of the new tag escapes me, and it shouldn't because I am currently painting a slew of Hawk Islam. But what about Ariadna, right? Because they don't have tags. They've got the Ratnik, they got the Blackjack, that's true, but they don't have a true tactical armor gear sort of thing like the other factions do. So
I could see the Ratnik and the Blackjack getting reclassified, to be honest with you, as tags. I mean, it makes sense to me to do that.
I disagree, and here's why I disagree.
Well, you're wrong.
Oh, I'm coming out of the booth. I disagree, and I may be wrong. That's fine. But I disagree with the simple fact that the storyline, when we had the ITS season tagline, there was all sorts of mercenaries, right? You could get an Anaconda, you could get Scarface, you could get all these different tags for the various factions. And one of the things that was really interesting to me was the Anaconda fluff for the Caledonians, because the Anaconda squadrons from whatever faction was hired to, basically decimate and, serve out the rule of law and just exterminated the Scotsmen. They were like, nope, we aren't going to have one of those. We're going to have one of these other tags. And I think they could only take Scarface or whatever the case was. And I thought that was a really interesting storyline where they played off the fluff. They introduced it into a rule for the ITS season, and I would like to see something along those lines where now, because we've got Cosmoflot, maybe Ariadna gets all sorts of Nomad tags. Maybe they get all sorts of Pano tags. Maybe they get both. Maybe it's hard shells and soft shells. Why not both?
I mean, okay, but so if you look at it, so the tagline was 3 years ago, 3 years ago, I think it was.
Sure.
Right. The timeline for Infinity is now 6 years past that. So I could see them, changing the stats. So maybe the Ratnik and the Blackjack get a better armor, right? Like 1 or 2 points better armor, but they become basically like the Silhouette 5 small tags, right? And so then you just get the tag name classifications.
That class, yeah.
And also you're talking N3 when that came out, and now we're on to N4. So rules wise, to simplify things, do they want to do Battle Ravaged, right? As a rule where
that's a good point.
This tag is this, and then it takes wound, and now it's this, right? Which they won't do Battle Ravage. They'll do transmutation, I think is what they're going to call it. So I mean, possibly, but I could see that happening more so than maybe giving Ariadna a tag, its own tag. I would see them updating those 2 profiles.
Why not both? I'm just putting it out there. Why not both?
You cannot have everything, because, and also, to say that jokingly, but also really, I don't want every faction to have everything, because then they're not different. Yeah, I mean, that's what makes Ariadna unique, is that it doesn't have the tags, and it doesn't have MSV, right? It has, these low-tech weapons, right?
Well, and they're heavy.
Pano has really powerful dudes, right? So I don't know. That to me, I think that's part of why you pick an army, is because of the play style of that army, the strengths and weaknesses, and the connection there. And I think it makes a difference.
Yeah, and when you look back when we first started playing this, Ariadna's heavy infantry was not hackable, and that was Minutemen just rolling up for days and being like, "Screw you, hacker! I'm heading. I'm just walking on by. I don't care if I'm in your zone of control or not." And then they changed that and made things more equitable across the boundaries. And so I do see, and I will concede your point of everything being the same, but I think that there's still a way that they can make things equitable by using their fluff, because their fluff is so fantastic.
But I think that Man, I gotta side with Ryan, man. That I want the factions to be kind of a little similar, but I want a lot of difference. I don't necessarily want to play rock, paper, scissors, like, oh, you
Agreed.
brought this, that I just lose. But in a game where you get to have two lists, and we'll joke all day long that we Iron Man everything because we build one, we play one every, when we get together on Wednesdays and we kind of take the same list over and over again and kind of have fun with it, and then we'll try something new. But I like the thought that you have to have an all comers list, or at least a second list that, like, man, if that list drops, I better be able to deal with it, because this what I'm running right now cannot deal with it. And I think, to your guys' points, I think we will start seeing some tag heavy lists. And I think the way to go, like if you were to play more competitive, to kind of throw us into that world, I think you're going to either have to people are going to build lists that are anti-tag, anti-heavy infantry. And then how do you deal with that? And then what do you do if you're built to deal with tags? What's your second list look like? Like, what is that? What is that looking like?
Yeah, and I think that goes right back to there's still a lot of unknowns that we can't speak to, because Randy, you bring up a really good point. If I'm going to make a counter tag list, counter heavy infantry list in 3, oh, you can bet your sweet patootie I'm bringing hackers. And that would, hackers and repeaters, which is kind of one of the reasons why I was going with the Hakaslam, that will slow down because you'll be able to have that repeater net. You'll be able to have, the zones of control, with deployable repeaters, the pitchers, and be able to deal with those things that are hackable. But without seeing what N4's hackable or hack programs are, it makes it harder to theorycraft that, which goes right back to what Ryan was saying is, at the beginning, he's super excited just to see what drops so he can theorycraft.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you completely there too, but I think that even when rules aren't out and you start looking at lists, and Ryan and I had this conversation 2 weeks ago, Ryan, where we were like, sometimes I'm sitting in front of my computer or I'll be on my iPad and I'll pull up, Army Builder. I think Ryan does the same thing, and you'll start building things and we're like, oh man, well, N4 is coming out, so the points are probably going to change, but man, wouldn't it be cool if this unit, dropped a couple points, or if this one went up a couple points? It would fit like a really good jigsaw puzzle, like, oh, like you found the perfect piece. And I think that as we keep going with it, I think as N4 gets closer to dropping, you're going to see a lot of really happy people. Infinity is the rare game, and I think we've all played a lot of games. I think people listening have played a lot of games, and if you're just coming into the Infinity world, welcome. I think that Infinity as a game itself is so wonderful in that it's not a rock, paper, scissors game, and the selection is so diverse that there's literally combos that you could never run out on. And that's what me and Ryan were talking about a ton, is when you're making lists, I don't look at a list the same way you do, and you can't net list Infinity. Somebody might tell you, hey, look at this list, but if you don't understand it, then it doesn't matter, that some really good player that's not us won a tournament with it. I can't pick that up and do the same thing, because there's tricks inside of the trick.
Agreed. One of the things that they have come out with the Hakaslam release and quote unquote fix the Mutawas, right? Because those are the guys that are impetuous or extremely impetuous and have the jammers, which all they got to do is they've got to run to the closest enemy in 3, and then they start jamming, which puts you into an isolated state. And they've quote unquote fixed that. And so if you don't know how to play Mutts or Mutawas, then you're not going to be set up for when your opponent moves. And that, to me, is exactly your point, Randy. You've got to play it. You've got to play your list and your style, because someone else's list and someone else's style, if they're playing it all the time, it becomes muscle memory for them. Whereas you as a new guy, you don't know how that works.
Yeah, exactly. And since we're talking about new guys and new people, and if you're new to this, if I wanted to start Infinity, I'm coming from another game, and feel free to compare it. What do I need to play this game? Like, how much is it going to cost me? What am I looking for? Initial investment. I got 2 or 3 friends. We're going to pick up Infinity. What am I looking at? Like, what would you say that I need? Like, if I pick up, like, let me ask you this question. So, if I pick up a starter box, and in the starter box, I was doing a little digging. A lot of people will know this, but if you're just picking up Infinity, there's a lot of stuff out there, and other gaming, like, if you were to play Warhammer, they sell the starter box, 2 armies in it, run with it. Infinity, if you were to buy one of their starters, it comes with 2 factions, and then it comes with 4 buildings, 2 public councils. It comes with 8 blast barriers, 4 Hollands, a game mat, 6 20-sided dies. You have your markers, your templates, and a measuring tool. Like, it all comes together along with the models. And for that, retail in the States is $130. So if you split it with 2 of your buddies, it's $65. If you get the add-on box, you're looking at another $60. So it's $180 for what amounts to 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10 models. And it's 10 models, $180. Split that 2 ways, that's $90 a person. So each model roughly costs $9, 9 something and change, right? Would you guys say that that's a fair entry point to the game?
Yeah, I would think that you could. So and that's taking the 2-player starter, right? And say
Yeah.
you don't like any of the 2-player starters, right? So you look at another sectorial starter, which is going to be 6 models at like $40 or so.
It's $47.99 retail.
Yeah, so you could pick up one of those, and then maybe another box of typically like the support pack, which is like your engineer and doctor, and then like maybe a blister or 2. And so you're looking really roughly bucks, and you could have enough to play with like 10 dudes, right? Which is going to be fairly close to the norm right now. If
Yep.
15 models is that's going to fit right in that.
So I was looking up that today, since we were going to talk about this, and I looked up the Nomad Corregidor. God bless it.
Really?
Wow.
I'm telling you,
Corregidor.
this is the bane of my existence is pronunciation.
Corregidor.
So the Nomad Corregidor box is $47.99. It comes with 6 models, and it's your Wildcats with like a light flamer, your Intruder with a light flamer. It has a Hacker and a Hellcat. And so for that, granted, this is going to be give or take because I didn't put anything in a Lieutenant here. These 6 models, it's 110 points, give or take another 10 to 20 points up, or up. This is bare bones. Then you have to put a Lieutenant if you're just going to play with the 6, and it comes in with an SWC of 0.5. And again, you can probably add another 0.5 if you want to, adding some things to it. But that's your Hacker. The thing about Infinity that I did notice, though, is somebody that's trying to build armies and trying to kind of value my way through, is that I can't get these individual models blistered. So like I was looking for an Intruder, and they have a HMG and they have a sniper, and those are running around $15-$16 for those models. So if you guys were building your armies and you were on the the Infinity website, or if you went to the tabletop website and you were trying to build it, would you recommend to a new player like myself that I should buy a sectorial box, the 2-player starter, or should I kind of go the a la carte route?
So I'll take this one out of the gate. And I think I would recommend what Corvus Belli is doing with the action packs, right? And the action packs are different than the old N3 starter packs because those action packs have 10 dudes that are covering that whole gamut, right? So like I was looking at Shazvasti, similar, in preparation for tonight's show, and they've got for right at $100, 10 dudes, which is a little bit more expensive than the traditional starter pack for N3. However, you get more flexibility. So for the Shazvasti action pack, you get 3 Nox, 1 Mentor boarding shotgun, 1 Caliban boarding shotgun, 1 Caliban Spitfire. You get 1 Shrouded with a combi rifle, 1 Malignos with a boarding shotgun, a She-Skin with Red Fury, and a Guilo with an HMG. And I think, Randy, that is to your point about getting the intruders, getting the action pack all in one. Now you've got 2 Caliban models. You can WYSIWYG it and say this one's got a Spitfire and this one's got a boarding shotgun, or you can say they both got this. I think as long as you're open with your, intent to your opponent and you are consistent throughout your game. Corvus Belli has a great proxy rule. They're very lenient. I don't see a problem with that. So I would much rather get as much metal model for my money as opposed to trying to go the a la carte route and spend more money doing the individual route. But that's me.
Okay, Ryan, what do you think, man? Like, so I'm trying to. So should I a la carte it, or should I just kind of proxy and then, when I find my niche, then kind of like start getting one model, convert, yada yada.
Well, I think if you have a sectorial you like, if you have something these are the group I want to play this one, then I think the starter set is the way to go, right? To entry level, right? Now, once you play and once you've been doing this for a little bit, if you want to go to another sectorial, then you don't necessarily need to do that, right? Because you're going to have a feel on what do I need for a leader? What do I need for troops? What do I need for my guys that are going to push buttons? What do I need for my guys that are going to kill stuff, right? So you can then go a la carte, but almost always you're going to be like in a situation where it's going to be better to buy the starter set because, like you pointed out earlier, is that you can't get those models in most cases in a blister pack. You just can't. So if you want them, you're going to have to buy the starter set. So that's a good place to start. Corvus Belli's, what's the word? Proxy rule is very liberal.
At least I get hard words wrong.
Yeah.
You got proxy wrong.
I didn't mispronounce it. I couldn't remember what it was.
Dang it.
Yeah, he didn't say Patty.
Yeah. Yeah. Corvus Belli's Patty rule, by the way, is very good. So, that's, I think once you start doing that and using the proxies and like you can start kind of playing stuff out, like Rob was saying, clear with your opponent, and then you can kind of figure out what you want to add next. So I've got my starter set, I've got maybe my support pack, and maybe a box of remotes, right? And that's what I'm starting with. And then you figure out, okay, I really like the remotes, so I'm going to add more remotes. Or I don't really like the remotes, I really want a bunch of heavy infantry, so I'm just going to add a bunch of heavy infantry, right? Or tag, right? So I think really my typical always is if you're brand new and you like one of the armies that comes in the 2-player starter, then that's going to be your best value right there starting out, especially if you can split it. Even if you can't split it, it gives you 2 armies that you can mess around with, right? So if you can afford to do that straight out of the gate, that's a pretty good value.
Yeah, I tend to agree with everything you guys are saying, and I am all about value. And I think when most gamers are looking at playing, and hobbies are all disposable income, and you want the best bang for your buck. So the reason we went into this, even briefly tonight, guys, is when you're starting your armies, definitely look out for things, especially if you're buying it retail or buying it used. But if you're buying it retail, look to see how much you're getting and what it breaks down per model cost. And that generally is a good way, a good rule of thumb, especially in Infinity, because you really can start playing for less than $100 because you don't have to buy a rule book. The rule book's online. So the fact that all the rules are online is just, that was like hook, line, and sinker for me years ago because I didn't have to buy another rule book. And all the other armies rules are online too, and I don't have to buy we all came from the GW days of buying 25 codexes, so you knew what your army did and everybody else's. That was great. I mean, like, you'd spend $400-500 on books. So I'm definitely glad to get rid of that. But
yeah, I mean, to add that on, not only is the rules online, they have a army builder, right? So you don't have to get a secondary program. You don't have to have some other way to access it. It's on their website. They have an army builder there that you can go in, you can log in, you can save armies there, and all of that stuff is really good.
Yeah, and waiting for your third-party update to get the newest part of an army was always a pain in the patootie. Whereas with Corvus Belli, they're like, hey, we are planning on updating army on this date to incorporate these changes. And boom, it's done. It's still the same slick interface, and it's amazing. I'm just gobsmacked at the army builder.
No, I think it's totally great. I think everything about this new release is going to be overall great. Is there going to be hiccups? Yes. Is there going to be stuff that everybody's going to be like, but I think that this is definitely more like a glass is 3/4 of the way full than anything else. And again, gaming is what you make of it. So have fun with it. I mean, this is supposed to be a game. You're supposed to have a good time. But on that note, gentlemen, we have wrapped up our second episode.
Boom.
No.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We have, and eventually we'll get to do these in person when this COVID kind of goes away, and we'll get to see your smiling faces. I won't be able to podcast in my pajamas anymore, but I mean,
I'm not wearing pants.
I was gonna say, you wearing pants?
I meant when I said pajamas, I meant my slippers.
Oh, okay.
And a smoking jacket.
Maybe just my robe. I don't know. You'll never know. But anyway, check us out, guys, on the Instagram. You can see what Rob and Ryan are painting. You'll never see me post painting stuff, well, maybe ever. You can check us out at Personal Flash Paper on Instagram. And we have a new Facebook page that we put together so all three of us can kind of hands our hands in it. And that's Personal Flash Paper at an Infinity Podcast, all one word. And you'll find us on our new page. We'll have stuff from this. We'll have our content for our battle reports coming out on there, and also for the RPG podcast that is, when if you're listening to this, you've already heard the first episode. So definitely check us out there as well. That'll be great. So anything else, guys, to add?
Nope. I think I'm good. I think that's good.
Yep. Dice are fickle bitches.
Yeah, and check out our new sponsor, Tabletop, in the description of this podcast, and give their online store a gander. Remember that free shipping, $100 anywhere in the continental United States, which is actually pretty huge considering what shipping is for most companies. Even if you were to buy at a discount off of eBay or something else, the shipping is going to get you. So why not just buy brand spanking new? And on that note, we will see you next week, same time, same Infinity channel.
Background music. Flying Species. The Yellow Flying Cog. The use of these human works of music is granted under the current Creative Commons license terms and agreements. From the freemusicarchive.org, from the artists as listed. Thank you.
Tabletop Game and Hobby. Located at 9156 Metcalf Avenue in Overland Park, Kansas, zip code 66212, has for over 25 years been the Kansas City area's premier game store, specializing in non-electronic games, carrying a massive variety of board games, miniature games, role-play games, classic games, and gaming accessories. Stop by, see what we have to offer, or give us a call at area code 913-962-4263, or visit us online at tabletopgameandhobby.com.